Morning everyone. Morning Charles, Christian, Flavio, Helen, Lorato, Matale. Welcome to this webinar. So let's get started. It's 11 o'clock and I'm sure you're all very busy, so thank you. Thank you very much for being part of this. My name is Abi Wakama. I'm the Managing Director of IT News Africa. Welcome to today's webinar titled Enabling and Managing a Cloud-Based Remote Workforce. I would like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. Now, the convergence of work from home and in-office work has become the new normal for most organizations. And moving forward, a cloud-based remote workforce will be the foundation of how organizations operate, compete, and succeed. This new mandate forces today's companies to think about how work gets done, both inside and outside their walls. Organizations that want to amp up their success have to develop new cloud collaboration strategies to get the most out of their work from home or work from anywhere teams. Technology leaders and their business counterparts have to embrace the philosophy of work from anywhere, particularly when it comes to rethinking the core concepts of infrastructure, workplace productivity, and business processes. This online event has been developed to provide critical insights for heads of IT, contact center leaders, and senior management across industries, providing objective, timely evaluation of different challenges inherent in remote working and new solutions for tackling them. Now, just a few items before we get started. We will take a few questions at the end of every presentation. If you would like to ask a question, please put up your hand or use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screens. And finally, please don't run off at the end of the session, as we would like to get your feedback with a quick poll at the end of the webinar. And without further ado, I would like to introduce the first speaker for this morning. She is Hanley Debod, and she's the head of IT enablement at Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator. And her presentation is titled Solving Youth Unemployment Through Partnerships. Hanley, over to you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me. I'll stop my video and then kick off the presentation. So I think the first important thing is just to tell you a little bit about who Harambee is and what the work is that we do. So Harambee, I just want to make sure that my presentation is moving. There we go. Harambee is a nonprofit enterprise, and we work to solve youth unemployment challenges. We do this using data and technology, and along with a lot of partnerships with government, business, young people, and other like-minded organizations, we are committed to solve and help with this problem. So how does that fit into a contact center? Well, let me tell you a little bit more about how we do what we do. So young people in South Africa join our network by registering on our Harambee Mobi site. This data software is developed by us and supported by our development team. And these young people basically complete this information so that we have a database about their education, their experience, what it is that they want to do. And from there, we make contact with them. So normally, a young person would register on their laptop, on their cell phone, or sometimes also by physically coming into our office. So the important thing here was, of course, that we also need to reach out to our young people. So once they register with us on our site, our contact center then contacts the young person, and we complete their profile, we engage with them, and we also see what support we can provide to that young person at that stage. We call these Harambee on the phone experience or hope calls. And after the hope calls, we also trigger IVRs that basically provide information around work seeker tips like how to do second chance matric or how to update your CV, etc. So this Hope Call Center used to be powered by Genesys Pure Connect. We moved from our legacy system to Pure Connect hosted by Pivotal Data in their data center environment. And this was integrated to our core platform where our Mobi site is on top of. So basically from this platform, we enabled 110 agents, we had email agents, and of course 20 support staff. And at that stage, we were also starting to look into our cloud roadmap. Because of the nature of the integration of our core system into the dialer in Pure Connect, we did not want to make a move to cloud too quickly. We wanted to make sure that we are enabling our business in the right way. And therefore, we started a POC with Genesys and Pivotal Data, and we had 10 agents utilizing the platform, as well as running some tests on API integration with our environment. Then, of course, with COVID, life changed for everyone. COVID had a massive impact on our operations. Harambee contact center was not seen as an essential service, and our Hope advisors could not work from home. They work on office terminals, and we also couldn't get any young people to come into our office, obviously, to do face-to-face interventions. So our people were at home, but Harambee, being Harambee and having a social-minded enterprise, was looking at a place where we could assist. And one of these spaces came up when the UIF TERS payments was announced. So we could help. We had contact center agents. We had more people that could not do the work that they were used to doing as part of Harambee, with face-to-face work seeking, bridging, etc. being suspended. And we had our Pure Connect environment. However, although we knew that the demand for UIF support would be massive, and at that stage, we felt that Pure Connect was not scalable to the level we needed, and also enabling our staff that was on-site or off-site was also problematic. Thirdly, the system setup was integrated into our Harambee systems, and we wanted to keep that intact. So we rapidly pivoted, and alongside Genesys and Pivotal Data, we took up the Genesys Rapid Response Offer. The Rapid Response Offer allowed us to enable a larger team from the office and the home. So we could take 110 agents, bring them back into the office, spread out according to safety requirements, and we can enable the Harambee staff that were working from home. The access to the system was really easy, and staff with a laptop, a stable internet connection, and may I repeat, a stable internet connection could work from home. And we were absolutely possible to scale, which was a massive benefit being on Pure Cloud. Also, we had a quick deployment time. So I'm sure for those of you thinking of a cloud strategy, nobody really does cloud quickly. Well, in this case, we did, and it worked for us. So Pivotal Data actually got the system set up for us in, I think it was 24 hours. And the second day, we were training people over the weekend to go live on the Monday. The great thing also about the Rapid Response Offer was that we were able to access all licensing tiers, which became crucial to us as we ended up with 500 agents taking calls on the UIF environment. So we were set up, we were ready, we had our people, we had our Genesys cloud, our Pure Cloud system, and we had our people ready to take calls. Not just our own people, but later on, we also partnered with other organizations to enable those 500 agents to take rising calls. So talk about rising calls. Just to give you a view of the type of inbound calls that we took during this time. So with those 500 agents, we took over 1.1 million calls by the 30th of June. So basically in 2.5 months. In the beginning, we did throttle the calls, and that was in order for us to ramp up our number of agents. We quickly saw that the 200 Harambees were not enough, and we needed more people. A note here is that it was really easy to ramp up, and that was the great thing about having cloud software. Pure Cloud enabled us to quickly onboard new agents. We just needed to keep an eye on our infrastructure, of course, to make sure that we could support all those concurrent calls and the people on the calls. But with the help of Pivotal Data, we were able to adjust that quickly and enable our team to take all these calls. So in the end, we had 500 agents, 1.1 million calls, and all utilizing Pure Cloud that was set up within 2 days. Of course, after the initial setup, we did really have to work on doing a few additional things. And I thought I'll share just 3 things that I thought was our keys to success. So scheduling and forecasting was extremely important, even more so with a remote workforce. So you can imagine that we had multiple teams. We had the Harambee on-site agents, we had off-site Harambes taking calls, and then we also had a partner. And along with that, so that means multiple sites. Along with that, we also had some of our Harambee staff who were not working full shifts. They were, for instance, working 4-hour shifts on the call center and then completing their other work for the rest of the day. So it was really important for us to schedule accurately and to be able to see that schedule. And what I can say there, that is the adherence reporting and the adherence views that we could give our team leaders and our RTAs on Pure Cloud was a great benefit to us. We also looked at our peaks, and with analysis, we saw that where we were open from 8 to 6, the majority of the calls were actually coming in at 7. And if we started early and we took a lot of those calls, we could keep up with the rest of the day. And again, using scheduling, it was easy for us to adjust those schedules and then also rate accordingly. The second thing, and this is almost more a lesson learned, is around IVRs. A lot of people dialed in and they just wanted to know where to apply. So utilizing the IVR, we were able to help people quickly, and we didn't have to put them through to our agents, which already had a lot to deal with. We do have a lesson learned though there. Initially, we didn't architect our flows properly. So what I mean by that is on Pure Cloud, you can actually show your drop-off points. You can show where people, what selection they made. And obviously that was important for us to report on. But luckily, we could quickly fix that. And from there, we were able to provide that view. And then finally, the access to the recordings from wherever was also fantastic and enabled our QA team to be able to listen to recordings of all 500 agents out there and be able to quickly coach and update the knowledge base as they required it. So that was also a great win from our side. But of course, Harambee is not in the business of just running a contact center. We are in the business of helping youth unemployment. And at the end of June, as our agreement, we ended our UIF assistance and we moved over to the core of what Harambee does. So as you guys can imagine, we were still looking at our POC on cloud, but at the end of June, it was also the peak of COVID infections. And we made the difficult decision of rather closing our offices, even for our contact center staff, while the virus was in its peak. During this time, we also realized that we could run an inbound line. We were always scared that we would be inundated with calls, and we had an idea with the young people of, don't call us, we'll call you. But we knew now was the time to shift. Especially since we couldn't get young people to come in our office to see us, we decided it was a good time for us to actually launch an inbound line, and we definitely wanted that line to be toll-free. So again, we needed an environment which would enable our workforce to work from anywhere. And we decided to then immediately and rapidly again migrate from Pure Connect to Pure Cloud. So this we didn't do in 2 days, but probably I think a week. We migrated quite quickly, and again we were enabling our toll-free inbound line, 2 outbound lines, which I'll speak about now, plus minus 170 agents, 15 team leaders, and then obviously our supporting staff that is so integral to what it is that we do. What was really great for us is because people were at home, we also have people that are not generally agents phoning work seekers when we have opportunities. So should we, for instance, have an employer looking to employ some of our youth, normally our team would have phoned the young person and shared the details and make sure they could apply, etc. Because people were not in the office, we now enable them via Pure Cloud to be able to make those calls. And the benefit we saw from that is obviously also that we have the recordings. So we can go back and we can measure and make sure that we are handling all our calls correctly. Again, I know that rapid cloud movement is not necessarily the norm, but what I can say is that the Pure Cloud system is really easy to set up. Of course, we had the experience that we gained during running the UIF call center, but mostly we could help ourselves. And of course, we had great guidance from Pivotal Data and support on how to set up our system and get it working correctly for us. So enablers and lessons learned. And here I want to talk people and systems. So I think the first thing with remote workforce is constant and scheduled communication. And what I mean with scheduled is a time that you really see, take stock and communicate where you are. As Harambee, we are more than 500 staff members, both in South Africa and Rwanda across multiple offices. And a great initiative that our executive started at the beginning of lockdown was something called the Daily Stand-Up. The Daily Stand-Up is an hour every single morning where we as Harambee take stock of where we are, what is important, why do we do what we do, and we also have outside speakers coming to share with us research around youth unemployment, around technology, and where the world is going. And this is really a space where Harambees get together and plan our work. But if we bring it back to a contact center, communication is key. If you think about enabling 500 remote agents, 500 plus remote agents actually, and on top of that, all of the supporting staff, it is a massive task. So we really did communicate and over communicate because that was the best way to get information out there. Also, what was interesting is that a lot of the agents use the chat functionality on Pure Cloud, and people also love WhatsApp. But any instant messaging system would really work as long as you make sure you get that information out quickly. It's also important to have SMEs. I feel like SMEs are so important because they monitor those chats. It's not just about chatting, it's also to actually look at those questions and build out the knowledge base where it's required. So SMEs were key to our success. The other thing is enablement teams. So team leaders, RTAs, and QA members are really critical. They provide insights and they provide it quickly, which means that people are then able to act and communicate on that. A great thing for us about Pure Cloud, again, is that if you think from a QA team perspective, those recordings were available. They could be at home, they could be at the office anywhere. They could access those recordings, complete evaluations, and also at the moment, we do obviously do coaching remotely as well. The adherence reporting was also key to our success. Number one, we scheduled a huge number of people. And even now, most of our staff are not in the office. So it's important that people know when they are scheduled and that the RTAs and the team leaders can actually see whether that adherence rate is where we want it to be. And it's also great that each team leader can create their own view. You can filter, you can make your own view, and you can really see what your team is up to. And then the fourth item is Frontline Iot Support. So this sounds so strange, people are at home, but that is even more critical. And a robust IT ticket logging system and resolution process is really important. A lot of our time with our frontline support team was actually spent testing connectivity. Just logging in on TeamViewer or however with that team member, checking what their connectivity looks like. And this brings me to my next point. Data is expensive and sufficient stable connectivity is not always available. So we really found, like even with a 3 megabyte per second download and upload speed, in our country, it is sometimes a challenge. And maybe that's a call to all of us to have some system change around the infrastructure that we need. But in saying that, we were, with a small data allowance, able to enable a great number of agents to work on Pure Cloud, which again is a fantastic benefit to us. The next thing is reporting and is critical and should be shared off. And I think I already spoke about that under the communication item. It's really important to communicate interval reports, wrap codes, and all of the other information that you need for your contact center. People do not check the system, even if they could. And it's important that that reporting is pushed out frequently. And we were really enabled by PureCloud to do that. Then the other lesson we learned is select the correct licensing for your environment. Previously, we did not worry as much about workforce management because our teams were on site. We could post our schedule on Excel and it wasn't a problem. But it became critical for us when we moved now to PureCloud that workforce management was included in our licensing, is it just enables us to look after our staff and make sure their schedule is correct. And then last, and I think this is so important, is to look after the emotional well-being of your people. To work alone and to work in a contact center is not always the easiest thing. And they sometimes deal with very difficult customers. So it's important that you have check-ins and take away time from the phone and actually engage with them. I think in a cloud environment, we are enabled technically, but we also need to enable people emotionally. And then last, what was next steps for us? So one challenge that we really had is reporting. Unfortunately, the reporting side of PureCloud is not totally as customizable as we want it to be, but the APIs are available and there for us. The fact that we moved so rapidly meant that we didn't spend time to map those out. And a big tip from my side would be, before you move, see what is available on the system, and then also determine what you could possibly change or what you could possibly have to build using API data and API views. So that, I think, is the biggest tip I can give. And then what's left for Harambee, we want to further integrate our core system into PureCloud. We want to enable more channels on PureCloud. For example, we haven't had time to do emails, and we're also looking at integrating a chatbot. And then finally, knowledge management software. We working remotely has made everybody aware how our knowledge is just sitting in people's heads or sometimes in very different spaces. So therefore, we are looking to enable knowledge management software for our contact center. And that is our journey to the cloud. Is there any questions?
Fantastic. Thank you, Hanley. Any questions? If you would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand or use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen. Okay. Okay, there are no questions for Hanley. Thank you, Hanley. Thank you very much for that presentation. Now we're going to take a quick poll. And my colleague Joyce is going to put up a poll. Please just give us your answers as quickly as possible so we can move on to the next presentation. Joyce, can you put up the poll?
Okay, poll is up now.
There we go. There we go. All right. What has been one of the biggest challenges for your contact center during this time? All right. Can everyone see the poll? Okay. Wow. So managing remote staff seems to be the winner here. Wow. Okay. So far, 70% of you say managing remote staff is the biggest challenge. Okay. All right. Let's give it another 30 seconds or so, just to give everyone time to respond. So 32 of you have answered already. Okay, we're going to close the poll in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. You can end the poll, Joyce, and let's look at the results. There we go. So managing remote staff, followed by adapting to new processes and procedures. Thank you everyone for your participation. And now we're gonna go into the next presentation. I'm just gonna get the, yes, the next presentation for about 20 minutes by Freaky Hearn, Channel Manager at Genesys, and Carl Reed, Chief Solutions Officer at Pivotal Data. And the presentation is titled, The Steps and Pitfalls to Moving to Cloud Technology for CX. It's going to be a joint presentation, and we're going to start with Carl. Carl, over to you.
Good morning.
Morning, Carl.
Okay, thanks, Hanali, for sharing the Harambee world and being so personally involved from a pivotal data perspective with both of these massive projects. For us as Pivotal, they were rather large and daunting, especially the UIF and having to put together an environment so quickly under some really uncertain times, and doing it all remotely, not actually being on site at any step of the way. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today. Today in my segment, I'll be covering the steps and the pitfalls of moving to cloud. The cloud is quickly becoming the preferred infrastructure for companies in many industries across many verticals. Moving to the cloud is usually done in stages. And this is something that you could hear that was coming across from Hanali's presentation. Yes, you can move and adapt to the cloud in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, not like your typical infrastructure where it could take months or years. But there are some very critical steps that every business needs to take to transition to the cloud. Some are critical, some are important, and some are things that you just need to be aware of. The practicalities around cloud adoption can greatly be simplified when organizations personally embrace a phased or augmented cloud transformation roadmap. Understand how and where you want to go. If you go back to the previous presentation, you would hear the fact that customers did an understanding first, went through a process of what is this cloud? What is it going to mean to my business? These are all sort of critical parts to the step. Importantly, a cloud migration strategy implemented in stages ensures business continuity, critically important, uninterrupted operations, as nothing needs to be switched off. Services are simply just switched over, no downtime. The following steps that I'm going to cover today is basically a guideline to understand that there will always be steps to any process to transition to any technology. But these steps that I'm going to cover today are the steps that we have found as Pivotal, transitioning customers to cloud and what you need to learn. And these are learnings that we have learned over many years of transitioning customers from one technology to another and from one technology and into the cloud. So let's cover them. Step one, determine what and why you want to move to the cloud. A lot of people come to me and they speak to me and they say to me, we want to move to the cloud. Well, I go, why? Tell me why. Don't tell me the technology reasons. Tell me why. Why as a business? So by first migrating your slightly less strategic applications into the cloud environment, such as contact center solutions or collaboration suites, organizations immediately create a more agile operation that is better positioned to respond and adapt to shifting market conditions. How we've had to shift to conditions in the last 6 months, 7 months. Providing the immediate remote working, browser-based environment for handling calls, interactions, emails, WhatsApps, web chats, and the likes from any location. And as you heard from Harambi's presentation, you could see that they had to enable their users in their workforce to be able to work from anywhere. And it was sad that they had to close their offices and then start adapting to this remote environment. Through thorough planning, expert implementation, you are able to achieve this. Given the complexity and mission critical nature of a cloud migration, companies require a clear vision and strategy to plot their journey to the cloud. So that sort of covers sort of step 1. Step 2, assess your environment, understand it. Identify your various systems, components, and people in your organization. Mission critical systems, applications, less strategic systems, data, backup systems, people, how to fix them, what's not going to affect them, what do you have to put in place, what processes do you now have to bring to the fold in order to enable this remote working environment? How does it affect your workforce? These are all critical components for you to assess. Identify the change management in the organization. Some organizations can adapt very quickly, some organizations can't. And it has nothing to do with the size of your organization. Organizations that are small and nimble might have bigger change managements to go through than bigger corporates, or vice versa. So understand that, understand your change management and how it affects everyone. Oh, sorry. Okay, step 3, selecting the right cloud partners and thus cloud provider. It's imperative that businesses take a consultative and collaborative approach to a digital transformation by partnering with expert providers that have the skills, the proven track record in the hosted managed services space to help you plan, orchestrate, and execute your strategy to move to the cloud. Do your research. Don't be scared. Go out there, research. Understand who's done it, what's their track record, what have they moved, what haven't they moved. And in a lot of this conversation, it's not just about contact center. It's not about, taking the calls and everything else. It's also about other systems. It's everything. A provider that provides you moving to the cloud for your CRM systems is a different provider typically to who's going to provide you your transition to the cloud when it comes to contact center. Different providers will provide different skills and different expertise for different parts of your transition to the cloud. Choose the right partners. This means that in a cloud migration, you may have a few cloud migration partners in order to be able to have a successful deployment to the cloud. Step 4, plan the migration. Planning is key, absolute key. I think you heard from Haneli's conversation. Yes, we can do it in 24 hours. Yes, we did it in a couple of days. What you don't know is the planning behind that. The extensive 24 hours working right through the night, pulling everybody together and planning the migration. Planning was absolute key. Break down your cloud migration strategy into phases. Make sure that these phases make sense. Look at what systems can be migrated easily and what others are more complex. Look at what systems are integrated with what. Understand their dependencies or interdependencies. This will allow you to understand how to phase your rollout. Easier systems to migrate will give you more rapid return on investment and offer less risk to the migration short and long term. Yes, you can have a hybrid model while you transition into the cloud. Some systems can move to the cloud straight away. Some systems may take months, and some systems might take a year or two. It doesn't mean you have to do a big bang approach. You can transition to the cloud in phases over a period of time, but planning is key. Consult your selected cloud partners. Make them part of your process. Don't exclude them. Pull them in, have them part of your strategy. Let them be part of your strategic understanding and view of where you as an organization want to be. Let them be a part of that. Let them come in and be part of that internal process. Allow them to bring their expertise to the fold and help you as an organization transition. They're there to help you. Step 5, execute. Yep, execute the phase. And again, I'll go back. In the previous, I was saying in step 4 that you're going to have this in phased approaches. So here at this stage, you're going to execute this particular phase. With the identified phase, execute the project. Allow checkpoints within the phase to assess how things are progressing. Don't just kick the project off, execute it, and sit back and hope for the best. And I'm not talking about project management. I'm not talking about planning. That's all important. But you need to have regular stand-ups and understanding of where you are sitting in the phase as part of this execution. Where are you? Are you on track? Are the deliverables being hit? What is happening in that phase? And understand it at all levels. Daily and weekly updates and meetings are critical with all parties, internal, external, organizations, key stakeholders and partners. And here I get to probably one of the most important parts of execution. And it's part of every phase leading up to this. Remember the user, the employee. That user, the person that uses that system, contact center, CRM, whatever that system is, they are a key stakeholder. You don't have to be the CEO or an executive of an organization to be a key stakeholder. Your users of your environment are your frontline. They are the ones taking the brunt of the business. They are the ones talking to your customers, your partners, your suppliers, and everybody else connected to that environment. They are key stakeholders in this progression. You need to have them involved from step 1 right through the process. Do not exclude your users. They understand how your systems work. They actually understand. They understand what they have issues with. They are the ones that will find the bugs. They will find the little holes and the little loopholes and all the unidentified potential gaps and issues. Get them involved. I stress on this. Get your users involved. Make them part of the process. That is key. So now you've executed it, gone off, monitor and assess. Step 6, monitor and assess your environment. Take a pause. Once the phase has gone live, let it settle. Allow there to be a period of no change with all the stakeholders from the top to the bottom, left, right, internal and external, get used to the change and the adoption into the business. As you heard from Hanali's presentation, there was various things that they found by moving to the cloud. Those areas are all key. It's all things that you as a business will go through, understand what they are, learn those fundamentals, but understand that your partner that you select will be there for you. They will help you go through this process, as well as lean on other organizations that have done it. So like Harambee, if Harambee has done this, lean on them. Allow yourself to be open to hear what they went through, good and bad. It doesn't mean the bad is bad. It doesn't have to stay behind closed doors. The bad can help you turn that into a good thing when you progress your environment. This period of no change, monitor and access can be a few weeks. It could be a month or two. Don't rush it. Assess it. Understand what you've gone through. Then, once you're happy, repeat the steps until all parts of the organization identified have moved to the cloud. So, as one of our project managers said to me in a project kickoff meeting that I had yesterday with a customer that's now moving to the cloud as well, rather large project, we rinse and repeat. And I thought that was quite unique. You take the environment, you've assessed the environment, you've now executed the phase, you've gone live with the phase, you monitor it and assess it. Now you rinse it, repeat the steps again for the next segment that needs to move to the cloud. And again, these segments are like your CRM systems, your financial systems, your contact center systems, and the likes, and all other parts of your organization that makes you your organization in the business that you're in. When any business, from SMEs to enterprise customers, opt for a strategically driven incremental approach to cloud, in other words, a phased adoption, over time, they greatly increase their chances of success. Well, that gives me, my segment is complete. Obviously, I can go into a lot more detail and steps, and that's what we're here to do when you reach out. It gives me great pleasure in handing over now to Frikkie Hearn, who we work with day-to-day on a day-to-day basis with all our customers. Thanks, Frikkie.
Thank you very much, Cole. Good morning to all. Thanks for joining the session with us today. We sincerely hope that you've derived some value out of the content. So before I continue, if I can maybe just take a step back to explain the positioning of this exciting Genesys offer. So we found that many customers that we engaged with do see the benefits of Genesys Cloud within their organizations. The challenge that they have is that they are locked in with an existing vendor that can't provide these benefits on their existing technology platforms. This results in the organization not being able to realize the desired business outcomes, especially on the digital transformation side. This would result in double payment. Customers must pay for the existing maintenance contract with an existing vendor while paying for the Genesys licenses at the same time. This was to be the number one barrier driving no decisions and preventing you from enjoying Genesys Cloud benefits. Genesys came up with a solution, and we call that Experience Cloud Now. Thanks, Cole. So what exactly is this offer? So what Genesys is saying is we will provide Genesys Cloud to you if you are currently bound by your existing vendor, okay? And we will offer you free usage of Genesys Cloud licenses up to a period of 12 months. Okay, so if you still have a contract with your existing vendor and you still have 10 months commitment, Genesys will provide you the licenses free of charge for a period of 10 months. And as I said, up to a maximum of a 12-month period. There are certain terms and conditions associated with this offer, okay? But we really welcome the opportunity to have a more in-depth discussion with you where we can then have a look at your environment, discuss the terms and conditions. And I think one very important thing that I need to mention, this offer is only valid until the 22nd of Jan 2021. Thank you very much. Back to the team.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Freaky. Thank you, Carl. And we can take a few questions. I think we've got some time available. Any questions? There's a question from Ayanda. What and why? What are the typical reasons? But I assume she's talking about the cloud. What are the typical reasons for moving to the cloud or migrating to the cloud? Freaky, Carl, can you answer that question quickly for Ayanda?
Yeah, sure, I'll take that one. One of the biggest reasons why customers decide to move to the cloud is, number one, the flexibility that cloud offers from a license perspective, okay, where the customer doesn't have to look after an IT infrastructure, no annual maintenance fees. It gives them absolute business flexibility, business continuity, okay, and it gives them the ability to do changes on the fly as and when their business requirements change. That is the most common reason why customers are moving to the cloud.
And I think I would also like to add to that. Thanks, Ricky. From our perspective, from sort of a partner in this world, we've transitioned many customers from a on-premise technology to the cloud, so that customers don't have to go through this continuous cycle of refreshing their hardware, their infrastructure, which happens every 2 to 3 years, the constant maintenance and support, and all of those connected costs. A lot of those costs are typically hidden in the business, but when you start understanding those costs, depending on the organization, those costs can be dramatically high, into the millions. And we found that moving customers to the cloud, those typical infrastructure costs and those continual every 2 to 3 years upgrade costs are gone, they disappear, with the added benefit of exactly what Fricky covered, the constant release of features. We are seeing features released into the cloud in the hundreds a year, not just 1 or 2 a year that a typical customer would experience in their traditional environment. In the cloud alone, we are getting, could be 8, 10, 15 plus features a month, depending on what those features are, and improvements in different areas. So the rapid response of features to the cloud environment, you will never get that on an on-premise.
Thank you, Freaky. Thank you, Carl. Any other questions from the attendees? No questions at the moment. A question for Handley.
I've got two attendees, Ayanda Lutuli and Duke Matebula. So I'm going to allow Ayanda to talk first, and then Duke will give his question after Ayanda. Ayanda?
Sure. Thanks for the response on the first question. That was exactly what I was asking. My second question is the features that are released, 10 to 15, let's say on Pure Cloud. There's definitely a gap between released features and features used by ourselves. We're a customer as well, by ourselves as a customer. How do you, or what's your program to ensure on an ongoing basis that your users or your customers are up to date and are able to jump on those features as quickly as possible?
that comes down to partnerships. One of the things that we do within our business is we constantly have regular meetings with our customers where we go through your environment. We have a look to see where your business is moving, how you're progressing. And if the business is getting us involved with your strategic direction and what you're wanting to enable and what you don't want to enable, we're able to help guide you. Yes, there are lots of features in the cloud, absolutely. Not one customer would ever use every feature. The features are designed in such a way as to enable the entire spectrum of every type of vertical customer that is potentially out there. But as an example, WhatsApp might not be applicable to a certain business. In another business or another vertical, WhatsApp would be significantly important. So it all depends on your business model. But that's one thing that we do is we spend a lot of time in the planning of your environment, understanding the maturity of where you are today and where you want to progress to, understanding your CX roadmap, and understanding how you want to progress from where you are today to the next level. It's a process. It's not something that you just switch on tomorrow. But a lot of the enablement of features is not just internal. It's not just to you as an organization. It's the sort of education to your customers. In other words, the customers that are going to be using that. The uptake of those features would never be used if they don't know about it. So there needs to be this collaboration between your external organization, in other words, to the marketing departments, the sales departments, distribution departments, and all those departments, making people aware on the outside that you have these features or functions or channels available for your business inside your business that they can utilize.
Okay, thank you, Carl. So we're going to take the final question from Duke Matebula. Duke, can you give your question, please?
Hi, Carl, and also just want to say, Hanley, that was a good presentation from your side.
Thank
Carl,
you.
also a very good presentation, just discussing cloud and the whys. You know, the why is very important. It's not just a technological thing you just do because the cloud is the trending thing, you know. So the why has to be accomplished, has to be accompanied by the business imperative. So my question to you is, security has become a central issue, especially obviously COVID has also made security paramount. But with cloud, some organization like ours, obviously, we worry about the exposure of letting go everything that sits there with the vendor now. And for me, security is about business value assurance, and that's where it comes in. So how do you assure that in terms of security, the customer feels safe?
Okay, it's a step process, and a lot of it is not actually about the systems, it's about education. And exactly like you were saying earlier, it's not just about the technology. It's, you know, cloud's there, but is it right for you or not? That you need to assess for your organization. Security is, when I talk about security and education, it's something that comes up all the time with every customer that wants to transition to cloud. Think about it this way, and I want to put a thought to you and to everybody else out there. You use a device every single day of your life. That device is a cell phone. Everything that you do on that cell phone is cloud enabled. You trust it to download your apps, your email, your private emails, your private thoughts, your private messages, your credit card transactions. We get on and we do our take a lot orders and our Checkers 6060 apps and pick and pay orders, and we do all of that. All of that's sitting in the cloud. You are trusting your day-to-day transactions in the cloud today. Now let's move to an organization. Yes, there are many components of your environment that you need to be aware of, and security and compliance being important, is very critical to your environment. We go through the process to help you go through that transition to ensure that everything is secured, everything is compliant. From a security perspective, if I look at the cloud, and I compare it to a typical customer's data center environment, the cloud offers far better and higher levels of security than any customer data center could ever offer. Why do I say this? If you look at things like security, and let's just talk very, very high level, very, very quickly. You get banking encryption. So you log on to your internet via your web browser into FMB apps or the like, and that connection is protected at 128-bit, 128-bit encryption. Our typical environment in cloud works at 256-bit encryption or higher. Plus, if you look at like Microsoft and the likes that has moved to the cloud, their encryption levels and their backbone is massive. It's 5, 6, 7 times that level of encryption. So the security within the cloud is far higher. However, this is a process that we gladly take our customers through. We help to make sure that you are comfortable. We show you, we prove to you that how secure the environment is. The environment in cloud, I've been, in the beginning, I was not a massive believer in cloud. Now, when I'm saying in the beginning, I'm talking 8, 9, 10 years ago. But what I've noticed over the years is that cloud is far more secure than we can ever be in a typical data center, localized type environment. But I'm very happy to have this conversation one-on-one with you, so you wish.
Thank you.
Great. I think we can take one more question. Any questions? Okay.
I just want to say thanks, Duke, for the question. It's a good question. I like those.
Okay. All right. That's it. There are no other questions. I'd like to say a big thank you to all the attendees. And Duke Ayanda, thank you for your questions. Thanks, Friki, Handley. Thank you very much for being part of this. And I'd like to say that please be join us again. Visit itnewsafrica.com/events. You'll find out about future webinars, technology-focused webinars. And please don't run away. We're going to put up a poll quickly where and we're going to ask for your feedback on this session. So thank you. That's it from me. And thanks to all the attendees and speakers. Yes, the poll is on the screen. Please give us your answers quickly before you sign off. Okay, we've received your answers. Thank you, everyone. That's it for today. Joyce, you can end the poll.